Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Drag Chat. I'm Xander Mander, and this is Rosemary. Hi,
Hi,
Rosemary.
Xander. Hi, everyone.
How are you this week?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
I'm good. Did you enjoy last night's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race?
I loved it, just like I love every show on RuPaul's Drag Race. I thought it was phenomenal this time around, and a few surprises in terms of the ladies that I kind of didn't care for their look. They surprised me this week. I won't say who they are.
Oh,
I'll tell you later.
gee. I wonder who you're talking about. I have absolutely no idea.
Hashtag no idea.
Yeah. Hashtag Xander Blonde moment. Anyways, well, let's get to the show. Before we get to the challenges and all that, there were a couple of things that happened in the workroom or that were talked about in the workroom that I wanted to go over. Um, One of them was, I don't know if you know, but it has gone viral right now over Twitter. That Do you remember the comment that Violet Chachki said about Michelle Visage, where she said, "I hate Michelle Visage"?
Yes, yes. I don't think she meant like I
That
hate the woman, but she should have said it.
Oh, she shouldn't have said it, but I think that she did mean it because last night Michelle Visage tweeted, and then Violet Chachki tweeted. Can you believe that Violet followed that up with that comment about kissing her duct tape ass?
Oh my god, those are fighting words.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'd want to get in a fight with Michelle Visage.
Especially with those claws.
No.
You see those claws that she has?
Oh, I know. I think she's been hanging around Alaska Thunderfuck too much. Oh my gosh. But the other thing that happened in that workroom was got a little personal for Miss Fane.
Yes.
And she was talking about how her mother pretty much struggled with drugs and alcohol, and she was raised by her grandparents, and then her grandfather was murdered when she was what'd she say, 15?
Yeah, she was pretty young.
That
Yeah,
was
I don't remember the age, but she was pretty young, and it was such a heartbreaking and touching moment.
that was bad. What really surprised me was the way that Violet Chachki responded to her.
Yeah.
And she was there and she was comforting. Where last week we were talking about a rivalry between these two,
Hmm.
and here's Violet there to hold her and comfort her, and even the things that she said afterwards were so touching. About how hard it must have been for Miss Fame to have gone through that,
Mhm.
and
Mhm. Well, it just goes to
seeing
show.
two.
It just goes to show that these girls are in a competition, but they're still human. And they're still friends after the competition. They will probably be friends. They were probably friends before, and they'll be friends after. But during the competition, I mean, there's a lot of stakes. So yeah, I can see where the competitive uh, drive comes in. But this was an instance where the competition was not even in existence. This was someone that was just saying something that was touching to them, something that was really serious to them, something that meant something of great importance to them. So you have to kind of put the competition aside at that particular instance. And I think what Violet did was just to show that she understands it's a competition, but she also feels for people. And I was moved by that, by both actions, by what Miss Fame had said and how Violet reacted to that.
I was too, and it was nice to see because it was kind of like a total 360 of what we saw of them last week.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see these other sides of them. They totally flipped the coin on their personalities from one week to the next.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens next week with them. But Miss Fame, if you're watching and you're listening, our hearts go out to you, dear.
Yeah, you're still number one in my book.
Well, let's move on to the actual competitions. First, Miss Rue came in with a mini challenge that I'm calling Open Your Mouth and Blow.
was one weird challenge, and I don't know how they could pick who was good, because they said unflappable or flappable. I mean, come on, these girls, they were all weird looking, but I thought the one that stood out the most to me was Jasmine Masters. I mean, her mouth was out there.
Oh yeah, it was out there, all right. And I'm sure Miss Fame didn't like it either. That was not her pretty side at all.
I don't know how RuPaul picked the winner on that one, because they all were hilarious. They were all hilarious.
But the winners ended up being Ginger Minj and Trixie Mattel. Now, I kind of thought Trixie might win this once I heard what the challenge was, just because of who Trixie is and the way she does her makeup. I'm like, it's really going to complement this challenge. And it did. She won.
It worked for her this time.
So they were picked as the winners, and they ended up being the team captains of the main challenge, which was Glamazonian AIRWAYS. And the teams that I had were Ginger had herself, Sasha, Jasmine, Miss Kasha Davis, Jaidynn, Kennedy Davenport, and Kandy Ho. Kandy Ho being picked last. I don't know why. And then team 2 was Trixie with the team leader, and she had Pearl, Miss Fame, Katya, Max, and Violet. So the main challenge was that they had to do the PSA, the commercial for the Glamazonian AIRWAYS, the AIRWAYS that were run by drag queens. I want to know what you thought of this challenge, and which team you thought should have won, or any standout in the whole thing, or what'd you think?
Well, I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. It really showed the talent that these ladies have. I mean, they really were talented. Katya, blew it in the beginning because she kind of lost, the lip syncing. She either didn't remember the words or what have you. But it was noticeable. That was the only part. I don't know if the other girls might have also slipped with the lip syncing. But the camera caught Katya, and she paid for that. But I thought it was a great challenge for the both teams, and I thought both teams did phenomenally well. But Ginger's team did do a little bit better, in my opinion. I like the way they came across, the sassiness, and things of that nature. So I enjoyed Ginger's team a lot better, but they were both great.
I thought they were both great, too. I really couldn't have chosen a winning team over the other. I did notice the thing about Katya, and I think it's because they emphasized it, in the editing. They kept that camera on her. But the songs were so different from each other. To be honest, I think Ginger's team had an easier song than Trixie's team did because of the monologues that were included in Trixie's team.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one that Katya had to do. That was a long monologue that she had to do. Her part was bigger than anybody on either team.
I agree. So, I agree. There were a lot of words to hers. And I think it was Michelle that made a comment about how could you forget them? You had, you had a greater amount. But then again, she did have a lot more words to say, so I can see why she would forget one or two. But it's just that when she first came on, she was off sync. Maybe if she would have been off sync later, but when she first came on, she was off sync, and I think that's what hurt her. But that's the only reason why I think Ginger's team won, because it was hard to call. All the girls were phenomenal. They were great.
Right. I want to give Katya her props, and I also want to give her, the benefit of doubt. We all know she messed up. She forgot her words. But I couldn't... The pressure that she must have been under. One, she was the first one out on stage in this challenge. Two, she had that monstrous monologue to do.
Yeah.
So I'm sure her nerves were really kicking at her right then,
That's true.
But they were all great. They were all great. Ginger came out and just took that stage by frickin' control, though. I'll give her that. That's for sure.
She is the cutest little thing. She is the cutest little thing. I couldn't take my eyes off of her. I thought she was adorable.
Isn't she? She's a doll. I love her. Coming up next was the main stage runway, and who enters that stage first? None other than RuPaul herself. Oh, what did you think of this week's gown, Rosemary?
I loved, loved, loved it. First of all, purple is my favorite color because I am a February baby. So I love, that color purple or any shade of it. But it was stunning, absolutely stunning. Again, another gown that reminded me of the Art Deco period. And she's just bigger than life. I don't know how tall RuPaul is, but she comes across like she's 7 feet tall on stage. But she's beautiful. The makeup, everything was flawless. But that gown was, drop dead gorgeous. I didn't care for episode one's gown. Didn't care for it at all. But this one, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I love the color purple. Purple's the color of royalty. And we all know she's the queen. As far as her height, it's a well-known fact that RuPaul is 24.5 feet tall.
That's all?
That's all. And that's in flats.
Oh my goodness.
Why do you think she's called a glamazon, honey? Yeah, RuPaul was beautiful, beautiful as always. I mean, her gowns are custom made for her, and they know how to dress her, and damn. I mean, she walked out, I was like, I don't say it very often, but I just said, damn, you go, girl.
She's got the perfect body, the perfect physique or silhouette, however they call it. I mean, it's gorgeous. There's nothing that she can wear that will look bad on her because of her shape. She's beautiful.
Right. She's great. That's why she's Mother Ru. That's why it's the name of the show is her name. Hello. All right. Well, the girls came out in their gowns. What did you think? Were there any standouts or letdowns? These were supposed to be influenced by extravagant air travel.
Right.
But don't give away your drag cat or your drag rat just yet.
Okay, I won't give away my cat or my rat. But I have to say,
okay.
It was a jet setter theme. And to me, a jet setter is like, a hip, rich person, probably owns their own jet, and they're traveling around. And, they dress they have a certain quality about the style and the clothing that they wear, that when you see them, you know that that's money walking down the street. Some of them hit the mark, some of them didn't hit the mark. And one of the ones that didn't hit the mark, and it's not a rat or a cat, but one of the ladies that stood out to me that didn't get the jet set, in my opinion, didn't get the jet set theme was Trixie Mattel. I didn't get that outfit at all. It was like a 1960s go-go outfit. I don't know. I just didn't get it. I didn't get that. So that was a standout for me.
A standout in a bad way.
In a bad way, yes. Not in a good way, in a bad way.
Okay.
Now, in a good way, I have Ginger Minj. I love that little outfit that she had on. It wasn't a jet set outfit. I'll agree with that. It wasn't what you would wear if you were a jet setter. It was more like a pageantry type or a cocktail dress. But she's just so adorable. She's so freaking cute. I was like, look at her. She's so cute. So it was a standout for me in a good way, that one.
I thought Ginger's was kind of like a Greek goddess type dress, with the long veil. That's what I got from it anyways. Anybody else you want to comment on?
No, there's no one else that I wanted to comment on. Those two were the ones that kind of stood out for me because they weren't the jet set. There's one more. Right. There's one more. I forgot I wrote it down. And I love her. I love Kennedy Davenport. But I didn't get that outfit. I didn't get it at all. I didn't understand. It was more like a futuristic type of alien type thing, with the black cover. I just didn't get it. I didn't get it at all.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree with hers. That's why I think she was just safe, middle of the road there. Ginger's, like I just said, I thought hers was more of like a Greek type outfit,
Mm-hmm.
with the long veil. I could picture her sitting up, on the Colosseum with all the marble columns, eating grapes, or being fed grapes from some, Greek god or something. The others, without getting into my drag cat or my drag rat, they were all pretty much, middle of the road. Although Pearl, I thought kind of looked like a movie star, going into first class. And Mrs. Kasha Davis, I could see that, late 50s, early 60s, with the the outfit that she had on. It's just, it's very simple, but I could see her, having money and sitting in first class. But, they weren't exactly standouts, good or bad. And I think that's why, they ended up being safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And and speaking of being safe and not being safe, let's talk about these bottom two and the winner. The bottom two, well, actually, the bottom three were Miss Fame, Katya, and Sasha Belle, with Miss Fame being safe and Katya and Sasha Belle having to lip sync for their life. Agree?
Well,
or
I
disagree?
agree with Katya and Sasha being there, but not Miss Fame. I don't understand why Miss Fame was part of the bottom three. I would have put Jaidynn as one of the bottom three over Miss Fame.
Well, I know why they did it. One, I think it was what she was wearing, for one. And two, it was the challenge. Um, she kept losing her step, and I mean, they really didn't show it that much as more as talked about it, but she had no rhythm in it. So I think it was her dancing, her choreography
Okay,
that hindered her on
I'll agree
that.
with you there. Yeah, I'll agree with you there
I,
because
I
she
don't
really
know.
doesn't. Poor thing, she really dances like a white girl. So I'll agree with you there. But when you compare her runway look to Jaidynn Dior Fierce's runway look, I would give it to Miss Fame, hands down. I mean, there's no comparison there. So I kind of didn't agree with Miss Fame being there, but I do agree with Katya and Sasha. And the only reason why I agree Katya being there was because of the lip sync issue. Other than that, I think she's flawless. She's beautiful.
Right.
So I think that's what hurt her was the lip sync issue.
She is,
You know.
that was why she was there, was because of that. She was the most obvious fuck up during the challenge, and that's why she was there. And Sasha Belle, during the challenge, she had all those problems pulling that hair down and out, while she was sitting on the man's lap and, the captain's lap, and that's
Yeah.
where she fell through in the challenge. So that's why they were there. Well, they had to lip sync for their life, doing Olivia Newton-John's song right in front of Olivia Newton-John. Talk about motherfucking pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure. And Miss Sasha Belle ended up going home. Miss Sasha Belle, the one who hashtag cracked the code. Obviously, the code cracked her.
And that's exactly why I think she
home.
wound up going home. I think she got overconfident in herself and didn't realize that, there are other people looking at you like judges, So just because every single person that was on the show and how they dressed and who did this and who said that, it's you that they're looking at. They're not looking at your brain or what you know, but what you can produce. So I thought that's what got to her. Plus, I thought she was a little bit too young. She wasn't, as mature as she needed to be. Not age-wise, just experience-wise. I think she needs a little bit more experience. And then maybe she can try again. Well, I don't know. Can they come back if they wanted to? Or
Shangela did.
Yeah, that's true. She did. Yeah, but she came back because, she's phenomenal.
Yeah, but you know what? If they bring anybody back, it better be Tempest Dujour. That's who I want to see come back.
That's right. That's right. I agree. I totally agree with you there.
I'm still a little miffed about that one. Sasha said it herself. she got too much into her head. You know, she was just pressurizing herself inside her own head. And I think it got the best of her. I really do. Would have loved to have seen, more of what she had to offer because I don't know, but from what I've read and seen, she's supposed to be a great comedy queen.
Really?
Yeah, and she was one of the most anticipated, fan anticipated queens to be on this season. So I have a
Wow.
feeling there
I
was
would.
a
I
lot.
wouldn't. I wouldn't picture her as a comedian.
No, I didn't either, but I've been picking up things in that, and that's what I'm finding out is she's supposed to be really funny, and she was one of the ones the fans out there were really waiting to see on this show. So I have a feeling we might have gotten ripped off of a really great queen here by her going home so fast. But she even admitted herself, it was her own fault because she got too far into her own head. So I don't know. I'll keep an eye out for it, see what she has to offer in the future. Just because you don't win doesn't mean you're not a winner on this show.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I'm sure we'll see things from her. Now, the winner of the challenge was Ginger Minj. And just like Carson Kressley said, I love the Minj.
I was surprised when he said that.
I wonder if he knows what Minj means. Do you know what Minj means?
I wonder, right?
For those of you out there who don't know, it means red vagina. But Ginger won. What do you think?
I think she deserved to win. I have to say that. But I'm such a big Max fan, and I just loved the runway look, with the hat boxes, and the fur, and I just love her. I would have picked Max over Ginger,
Yeah, that
but
was a good
Ginger
look.
did deserve to win.
Now, the winner wasn't just the runway. The winner was, the whole challenge. She was the winner of the challenge, including the runway.
Right.
It's an overall win, and that's what Ginger won for. Because if it were for just the runway, I wouldn't have given it to Ginger for that Greek goddess outfit that she had on. But I did want to give it to her because I thought she was a great team leader, and I thought she was fabulous in that stage in the challenge herself. She won the mini challenge, and then she was the team leader, and I thought she was a great team leader. And then, but as far as the runway, no, I wouldn't have given it to her for that. But I love me some Minj, so I was really happy to see her win. So Ginger was our winner. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this show, shall we? For those of you who haven't seen the show before, we do at the end of the show something that we call Drag Cat and Drag Rat. The Drag Cats were our favorite and best look of the week, and the Drag Rats, those are the ones who need to go sit behind the dumpster in the alley. So, Rosemary, who have you got for your Drag Cat, your best of the week?
My drag cat is Pearl. I loved that runway look. I loved everything about her from top to bottom. I just love that runway. If you want to pick, from everything of what they've done, then it might be a little different. But I'm just going by looks. I have to give it to Pearl hands down. She was beautiful.
Well, you're basing it on what you saw this week. Your runway for this week, that was your drag cat, was Pearl?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like I said before, she looked like, a Hollywood starlet going to sit in first class. So
I know, but that's what a jet setter looks like to me. When she walked in, when she came down that runway, all eyes were on her. If she were to walk down the street, all eyes would be on her. She's beautiful. She's stunning. Mm-hmm. The way she carries herself and the way she walks and just her persona, she was my cat.
Okay. Well, my drag cat was, or is, hold on to your seats, everybody. My drag cat, my favorite look of the runway challenge was Trixie Mattel. Because,
Really?
yes, when she came out, she gave me so much Judy Jetson, I was just dying. I loved
Okay.
it.
Okay.
She just stood out from the pack. She had a fucking airplane on her head.
She did.
I was living for it. I'm like, last week they gave us all that naked bodies, and this week we were getting drag, and Trixie just gave me drag, 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 and I loved it. So she was my drag cat. I'm sorry. I loved it. I just absolutely thought it was great. It stood out to me more than anybody else's. Yes, the others were beautiful. Some of them were classy. Some of them were but she just stood out from everybody else. And so that's why she's my drag cat.
Okay. I respect that.
Okay. Now, drag rat. Who needs to go sit behind the dumpster in the alley and just smoke a few cigarettes? Who was your drag rat?
My drag rat was Jaidynn Diore Fierce. Because her outfit looked like a cheerleading outfit. I didn't get it. Again, it was really short. It's, I don't know. I'm trying to like her. I like her person. I like, the person that she is. I love her face. She's got a beautiful face.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't get into her fashion style. I just can't get into it.
Okay. Well, I had a toss-up on my drag rat. It was really hard for me to choose. One of them was Miss Fame. That outfit that she wore on the runway, the brown and that, it just... Really, girl? You're Miss Fame. Really, girl? That's what you're wearing for extravagant travel, first-class travel, was this brown... It looked like a Robin Hood outfit to me. So, yeah, Miss Fame. She was one, but she's not my drag rat. My drag rat... Are you ready? I'm going to surprise you again. Jaidynn Diore Fierce. I totally agree with you.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, no, it was the same fucking thing that she wore last week in her spring and fall runways. That Beyonce, I want to be Beyonce look. It was the same damn thing. She offered absolutely nothing new. It was the same color tones, everything was just the same. And it bored the hell out of me. When it came on, I'm like, is that the same outfit she wore last week? I had to double check to make sure it wasn't. So she's my drag rat. What do you know?
Yeah.
Last week we agreed on our drag cats. This week we agree on our drag rats. Oh my goodness. Funny, funny, funny. Well, before we go, based on this week's episode, who are your top 3 predictions for the crown?
My top 3 based on this week alone are pretty much the top 3 that I've been cheering for all along. Max, Pearl, and Miss Fame. I'm madly in love with those 3. And until they really mess up and fall flat on their face, they got a fan in me.
Okay. Well, my top 3 is kind of the same as last week. I'm keeping Miss Fame in. I'm giving her a little pass for that brown runway outfit that she wore. Giving her a pass on that. I'm also giving her a little pass on her performance in the main challenge. Miss Fame, she's a fashion model. That's who she is. She's fashion and beauty. That's what she's known for. So what I'm hoping, and by predicting, is that she will continue to grow, as a performer And, with these challenges, I hope it's going to make her grow. And if it does, she'll be unstoppable. My other one is Ginger Minj. I'm keeping her in my predictions. She took the whole show this week. So she's not going anywhere. But I have put somebody else in my predictions right now. And are you ready? I'm
I'm all ears.
Yeah, I'm moving Trixie Mattel up. Trixie,
Okay.
she shined this week. She won the first challenge and she was a great team leader. She did absolutely nothing wrong in choosing her team. She did nothing wrong in that main challenge. Her runway, like I said, she was my drag cat for the week. She's upped her game, in my opinion. She's got her own unique style of doing her makeup, and I'm not going to discredit her just for that. I want to see other things that she has to offer, and this week she offered a lot more, so I'm putting her up there. I'm moving her up into the game for this week.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us again this week. We hope we'll see you next week. Until then, you do us a favor. You have a great week, you have fun, and you get home safe. We'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at DragChat.
Another day, another
Follow us on Facebook.
way to ease my pain.
Please subscribe by clicking on the link below.